Now, this is very important. Rick Kelly, right now, is pretty much our pole position sitter, unless the weather changes quickly, very, very quickly. And let me tell you why, because Rick Kelly did a 127.2 straight up, first lap, delivered it. Now that it's wet and they're on wet tyres, the best you can hope for if we go off yesterday's time is a 134. Yep. That's what Jamie Whincup did in the shootout to get pole. So that 127.2 is standing right at the top of the tree at the moment. And they're going to... It's a long way to climb to get there.
There's a couple of things you can do, though. You can keep a watching brief out there at the moment. Just circulate gently, keep an eye on the track surface. Remember Lowndes on Friday in the dying moments of practice 4 with literally 60 seconds to go. We'd had rain, a little less than this, I must admit. But he was out there, he had enough warmth in his tyres, and the track dried out for just one moment, and he went crack and did the fastest time. We've seen it over the years. You've just got to be Johnny on the spot in the right place. The other thing that you can do is you can also, what's described as road your wets now in this section of qualifying, and at least knock off a little bit of the release wax so that they're ready to race for the race this afternoon.
Yeah, I'll tell you one guy, Neil, in all of that really bummed out, who will be hoping it dries out, is poor young James Moffat. He went out and did an outlap and came in, they put another set of slicks on, a fresh set, and sent him back out. So he missed that all-important first lap to put one in the bag.
Didn't get a banker at all.
Not a good scenario.
Well, and that's experience, Larko, isn't it? You know, straight away, you've got to read that and know that the first lap was so important. Obviously, there's a couple of tails in pit lane similar to that, where Garth Tander's down in 19th position, Russell Ingall in 17th, James Courtney in 13th. So the Rick Kelly, Todd Kelly performance straight away, and it's mixed this grid up. Steve Owen is third currently with a 28.09. And as I said, the two low, Gisbergen and Murphy in 4th and 5th.
Steve had to wait twice yesterday in the pit lane because of all the congestion and chaos. He also had a situation where the single swipe wiper on the VIP Pet Foods car managed to turn itself around, so it was backwards on the screen, and he couldn't see for a big chunk of the race. So, you know, he had an enjoyable couple of 100 kilometres.
Well, Todd Kelly had that story to tell, and when he shared it last night, not only was it bad enough when it was wet, and then the sun came out, and he couldn't see a thing. In fact, he was just, he was really feeling his way around the circuit while trying to hold off Mark Winterbottom. It was an extraordinary afternoon, and when you think about it, I mean, how on earth do you drive one of these things at maximum attack, trying to hold off somebody like Frosty behind you as you're going around thinking, oh, I know what I'll do here. I'll hit the curb, and that tells me where I am. That's right.
When you're on your own and you've got the Rain-X on the screen, actually it's no big deal, but the problem is when you're with another car, it is a very big deal. You're just in this brown, messy mist, near impossible to pick a marker.
And this is the other local who was actually quite strong yesterday, just missed a couple of critical strategic things. I was talking to Rob Starr about his performance yesterday. They actually left the car pretty much as a dry car, and it was faster as a dry car than a softer, wet setup. He's always been quite good in the rain, and he's one of the guys that's been caught now because he didn't do a lap straight away, and he is 25th. So Fabian Coulthard is 25th with a 32.2, 5 seconds slower than Rick Kelly.
He was the leading Kiwi yesterday. So a lot of support around here from this car. It's just remarkable to consider the way it looks. The mother entry, Jonathan Webb, the winner in these horrid conditions, very similar in Sydney. And yesterday, this was one of the cars that got all tangled up in the trauma in the pit lane entry on the power steering fluid left by Warren Luff's car, Gulf Western entry. And massive damage, and they've worked all night on that car. And remember, when you come on these flyaways, you're working from a very limited pool of equipment, so there's been a bit of assistance from other teams to help. And look at it. I looked at the garage out there a few minutes ago before qualifying started, and it looks like it's about to go off on a concourse exhibition. It's just beautiful.
We saw it coming into pit lane with damage all over the front. The damage at the back was just extraordinary, right up to the back windscreen. I mean, the rear of that car was smashed together. And the guys, Webby said to me that I don't think there's going to be much mother drink available today, because the crew would need it all night to get through.
I tell you the other little thing I'd be doing too, I'm just looking up and down pit lane. There's probably 12, maybe 15, 16 cars here that I know would be rather further up the grid. Now, if you look at the vision on television, the only way of any possibility of getting a lap at the end in a dry line is if everyone's running. Yeah, I mean, I'd have my guys out there running around and around. Get getting the track dry.
It's a good point, Larko. It's almost like a test day. The only way to get the circuit dry is to be out there. So it's an interesting point. What we've got at the moment in terms of lap speed, Greg Murphy on the previous lap did a 36.4, and Shane Van Gisbergen on the previous lap did a 36.4. So in terms of the actual lap time, it's about 13 seconds slower than a dry lap. And the significant part of that is that it's still a long, long way, almost 10 seconds from the Rick Kelly time at the start of the session.
So with 6.5 minutes to go, it's going to be near impossible for there to be enough of a dry line. This is Tim Slade. Lucky 7. Well, it was lucky at 1 yesterday, because at turn 1, here's the replay, he locked the front right brake and he whistles down into the tyre bundle, and the tyre bundle, I mean, he needs to go and shake the hand of the guys that put that together for him down there, because that saved that car, that driver and that team an awful lot of trouble last night. And he very happy with the basic car performance, but obviously when they got out of control down there at turn 1 and found the wall, their day was done.
Well, Rick Kelly has read the conditions perfectly. Rick, that was brilliant, getting a hot lap on there on the board early.
Yeah, thank you. This is the longest 7 minutes of my life waiting here to see if the track's going to dry. I think it might, but if it does, mate, it's going to be in the last 10 seconds. So I'd love to grab a pole, but we need to be a little bit cautious now and try and get back out there in case it does dry. But looking good so far.
Rick, you do look very relaxed. Race win yesterday's obviously done you good, and feet up today just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, look, it could be a tough race for us if it's dry, because we don't exactly know our pace, but it's always great to get some confidence from a race win. That certainly provided that to me and Todd yesterday. He's up there as well, so we're pretty excited now. Just fingers crossed it holds out for us.
Right, all the best, Rick.
Thank you.
There's only one guy in Hamilton who wants it to continue raining for the next 5 minutes. And Barrett's was just talking to him.
Exactly. Isn't sport a weird thing sometimes, and momentum?
How it turns around.
Exactly. You get a great result yesterday, and then you have two brothers go out and first and second straight away. They knew what the job was that they had to do. They were immediately committed, and to be 7/10 faster than the next car in this field is a very, very good performance.
Hey, and Scafey, what's even more impressive, mate, what you might not see, as the guys exit the pit lane, they've got to do it in pit lane order. So it starts way up the other end. Now, I can tell you, Kelly's about 2/3 of the way back. So they went out well behind everyone else and just got started.
That's exactly right. Larko, that was the point that we made, that because the Lowndes Wing Cup performance, they were team that had the best advantage. They were first out, and we saw the weather basically come in as soon as the pit lane opened. So they were the guys with the advantage, and they're down in 8th and 9th. The Kellys had to forge their way through the field and put two great laps together.
And like most things, hard work comes down to it. I mean, when they created their own team, they knew it was going to be hard. And they've knuckled down the last couple of years. They've worked hard at it. Their talent is obvious. Their results speak for themselves. And the hard work they've put in has paid dividends yesterday and now today. That's where I reckon the smarts came in too.
Another noteworthy point in this qualifying session is that Paul Dumbrell's out there in position 11. That's another car that had a lot of work done to it to get it back to this point, as we ride with James Courtney in this wonderful footwell cam.
I love this shot, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's so telling because you get to see steering inputs, you get to see the way in which he's treating the throttle, the brake and the clutch. Mind, you've got to recalibrate your brain to figure out which one's which. But it's really interesting to just watch, particularly in wet conditions. Well, it is, isn't it? Just you've got to actually sort of resolve the problem in your head to go, hang on.
That's the loud pedal.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't look quite like it looks when you look into the in the footwell from the driver's seat. Knock it off, you two. So throttle telemetry here shows the throttle percentage as well.
Mark,
that's a steering wheel.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it.
Just tell him which one's the throttle, which one's the brake.
It's a fundamental issue in motor racing. If you get it right, you tend to go all right. But look at the delicacy of the use of the controls here, because it's the really, really delicate stuff out there at the moment where the track is neither one nor the other. It's not fully wet, it's not fully dry. If you use too much of that right foot and just hustle the car even 1% more than you should, then you'll end up rotating and hitting the wall.
Well, Steve Owen is here just tapping his foot on the side of the car at the moment, biding time. Steve, you're in a great position. Nice spot to be here, sitting just watching the clock.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just a matter of getting a lap in at the right time on the right sort of track conditions. So pretty happy with where we are, and we'll see how the race pans out.
And Steve, was that your strategy? Just get out there, lay it all on the line and get it done straight up?
Absolutely. One of the advantages of having a team owner who used to be a driver is that he's seen it all before, you know, and Paul called it perfectly. He said, mate, your first lap's going to be your fastest, make sure it's your best. So, you know, that's one of the advantages of having an old thinking racing head, you know, in your garage.
Do you think you'll be going back out in this qualifying session?
No, we'll park it now. There's about 4 minutes left and it's still raining, so I think we're happy where we are.
All right, well done, Steve. Good day.
Cheers.
I don't know whether Paul Morris will like the old thinking, a bit of the old thinking, but it was certainly experience that's proved very important.
Well, that will be Steve Owen's best individual V8 Supercar qualifying spot. Third, he has started from pole and was tied together with Jamie Whincup at Phillip Island, but individually, that's as far up as he's going to start, and I reckon he's going to have a pretty interesting start, because have a look on your totem pole as who's going to be next to him. Shane Van Gisbergen will be on the second row of the grid.
Some good news here for the Kiwi fans, with Shane in position 4 and Greg Murphy in position 5. The beauty of these conditions is that we've got a real mix-up in the way things are here, so there'll be lots of tales to tell off the back of this. Quite a few formed drivers who are further down the order than they would otherwise be. Mark Winterbottom, 21st, Garth Tander, 19th. Those guys are going to have a very long day ahead of them to deal with that. This is David Reynolds, Stratco entry.
Did a really good job yesterday in the rain, David. He's quite a talented young guy. The thing that I'm still interested in, Neil, is for Whincup and Lowndes, they did a 29.02 and a 29.06. They were both at it. They were both going as fast as they possibly could go. But they're 1.8 seconds slower than Rick.
But if you think about what we see as a trait in the race cars, think about Clipsal, think about yesterday, they got stronger later as they ran. So I wonder, you know, who knows where they're at with their tyre starting pressures and what have you, but it seems to not be their forte to jump out of the gate and go crack. So it is in the shootout, but that's a different animal to this.
Yeah.
But, you know, you look at that battle that Jamie and Garth were having yesterday, and instantly Garth was quick. It just took Jamie a little while, but once he came on strong.
I reckon you're on the money there, Neil. I reckon it'll be in tyre pressures, mate, because I reckon if you're smart enough to ship your car with hot tyre pressures in a cold tyre, bang, you're on the money, straight out of the gate.
Well, effectively, this was a shootout, this qualifying session. It was one lap at the start, and that is what has determined our pole sitter as Dean Fiore completes another lap. He'll start from position 18. We'll have Garth Tander behind him.
First gear, pit lane speed limit at 45 degrees outside the garage.
I just can't look at the entrance to pit lane the same way I used to after yesterday. I mean, I just shudder and shake every time a car goes in there now. It was just disaster. But wow, what a weekend it's turning out for the Kelly boys. Rick Kelly gets a race win yesterday and now has pole position for race 6 of the championship, the 5th different pole sitter for 2011. Greg Murphy and Shane Van Gisbergen inside the top 10, so that's our mid-pack. Michael Caruso starting from 16th, Garth Tander from 19th, Mark Winterbottom from 21st, and Jonathan Webb and James Moffat will bring up the rear of the grid here at Hamilton.